Hi everybody, my name is Joe Sanfilippo. I'm the superintendent in the Fall Creek School District, home of the Fall Creek Crickets, and I am coming to you from Fall Creek today, making a quick video because I won't be able to join you when you get together next week, and I'll actually be speaking that day, so I'm not able to jump in live. So I thought the best way to kind of get some of these messages out was just kind of through video real quick, and we'll make it really quick because I know that you have things to talk about, and hopefully this is the start of a conversation that can move you forward. But I'm honored to be that Raina had asked just to kind of be part of the conversation, and most importantly, from my perspective, as it relates to this conversation or just me talking into the camera, is that if you have any questions about anything, if you want to connect, please feel free to give me a call, shoot me an email. Raina has my phone number. Please get my phone number, text me, whatever, because I think one of the things that we talk about a lot is the idea that we're all in this thing together, and you can say that we're all in this thing together, but if you're going to live it, you got to be willing to have conversations about what it looks like moving forward. So I have a list of questions that she had given me, and I'm just going to kind of run through those and see if there's anything that we can help with that process. So the first one was really about the journey that I've had through education, and I'm not going to bore you too much about that, but I've taught 2nd grade, 5th grade. I was a high school coach. I was an elementary counselor, and then I got into administration about 14 years ago, and I was a elementary principal for 5 years, and then elementary principal and superintendent for a little bit, for 2 years, and then I have been a superintendent since then. So this is now my 9th year as a superintendent in Fall Creek, Wisconsin. It's been a really great experience. So that's been wonderful, but I think a lot of times the journey, when we talk about the journey in education, I think the most important component of that journey is making connections with people along the way that help you get better, because when I came into administration, I felt like I knew everything, and when it came down to it, I was just going to do what I wanted to do, and it was going to be fine. I was going to inspire people to do great things, and then the first day happened, and there was 2 suspensions, and a parent really mad at me for something I hadn't done. At the same time, I was responsible for that piece of what we were doing. So, I think one of the biggest things about being in this space is, living what we do on a daily basis and understanding that we can have a tremendous impact, but it's not just about platitudes and it's not just about quotes. It's about how can we make sure that we set up a system that is going to operate even if we're not here moving forward when it comes to our leadership journey and what that looks like in our building. So the first question was really about the hacks, and with all 10 hacks, I just want to make sure that I get it right. We're talking about the 10 leadership hacks. Which hack would you recommend tackling first? I don't know if there's one that I would recommend tackling first. I think one of the things that's important is that the book is kind of broken up into 3 components. Like the first couple of hacks are about being intentional about the work that we do. The second piece of it is really opening doors for the people in our organization so they can connect with other people outside, as well as make sure people outside of the building know what's happening inside the building. And then finally, how do you make sure that you build staff in terms of the work that you're doing and building momentum through staff? So you've got being intentional about the work, opening doors for the people in your organization, and then finally making sure that you build staff and go from there. And I think that really helps create an environment where people want to do their best work. And I think one of the things that we talk about here a lot, regardless of books or anything like that, is that if the only people learning in your organization are ages 4 to 18, then you're doing it wrong. So how are we making sure that the people in our organization are continuous learners as well? Because when they're continuous learners, that feeds the environment for everybody to be learners in that spot. And I think a lot of us get into this spot where we're leading groups of people, and sometimes those groups of people get really stagnant in where they're at, not because they don't want to grow, but because they just feel like they get into so much of a comfort zone that it's really hard to expand out of that comfort zone. And all of a sudden you've been teaching 3rd grade for 17 years and everything looks the same, because you've been going through it for so much time. But we got to understand that the people in that space, it's their first time through 3rd grade. So let's make sure that their experience is unique in that capacity. And you do that by making sure that the adults in that space feel like not only that they're valued, but they have the opportunity to learn and risk take and whatever moving forward, so they can know what it feels like to be in that spot of this all learning, this new learning, this inventive learning when it comes to all the work that happens in our space. So that's really, I don't know if I would recommend one. I would recommend the first part of the book first, because it's really about being intentional in terms of being present and engaged. Because I think if you're not present and engaged in the work, then I don't think anything else happens, because people will know that you're not present and engaged in the work. And I think when they do know that you're present and engaged in the work, it really helps us out, because there will be days that we are, running around 1,000 miles an hour. And if you build social capital by being present and engaged with people while you're there, then you kind of get a pass on some of the things that happen that you may not have control over, or you're just having a bad day or something like that. So I think that would be the first thing that I would tell you is, like, I would start with be present and engaged, and then at that point, you really just kind of, the cool thing about the book for us is that we didn't write it as in a timeline. You don't have to read it from front to back. You can, if you want to learn about passion projects for your adults, you read about that. If you want to learn about opening doors to your classroom, making sure that centering decisions at the center, and making sure kids are at the center of decision making, talk about that. You want to talk about hiring superstars? Read that hack. I mean, all we did was we asked about 100 principals across the country what was the hardest thing that was going on in their building, and then we tried to help them fix that hardest thing that was going on in their building, and got some feedback from them, and then put together these 10 things that we felt were well, actually, I shouldn't say it like that. We interviewed 100 people, and throughout those interviews, 10 themes kind of emerged. So we took those 10 things that people were struggling with and tried to add one thing that they could do to help that process moving forward. So that's really, I don't know if I would go with one in particular, but I think that's a really important component, as long as you just get your need met, whatever that need is. So that's where I would start. The second question was really about changing the mindset of the welcome back faculty meeting, and what would you do in terms of recommending flip PD in all meetings if possible, and what would you suggest to implement doing that? So one of the things at the beginning of the year is really a great opportunity to build culture and climate, and a lot of times we end up throwing ourselves into this mix where we've got a lot of announcements or a lot of procedural stuff that goes on. So one of the things that we really try to do is we'll make a video just like this, send it out to the staff, a month before. I actually just made it last week. Send it out a month before and just say, you are required by your contract to know these logistical components of what we do. And that could be like, how do you fill out this form? Where do you put this piece of paper? Where does this go? What do the staff development days look like, or whatever, that kind of stuff. All of that stuff goes into that piece. We do like bloodborne pathogens, where we have to watch it and then sign off that they had watched that piece of it, and we keep that in their file. All of those things that we feel like we can do via video. And then when we come to the first day of school, our meeting structure during the first days or days of school is very limited. So our welcome back up until this year, the welcome back the last couple of years has been like a 30-minute to 40-minute tops. Let's really just celebrate, talk about what we're doing, this, excited, and walk out. This should be a little bit longer. This is the first year we've actually bringing a speaker in for our welcome back day, so I'm really looking forward to that. So we do that, and then the meetings that we hold throughout the course of the first couple of days are really, really quick meetings, just to kind of check in and make sure that we're all on the same page if there's anything that needs to happen during the first couple of days of school. Outside of that, we feel like once we get into the school year, it's going to be better. These people want to be in their classrooms. They want to be getting things ready. They want to, talk about that with their colleagues, make sure that they're set to go when it comes to that work. So we're trying to avoid all of those pieces as much as we can when it comes to being really specific about sitting down and doing the logistical day-to-day operation stuff. So some people you have to do that with because maybe they might be new to the district, and those faculty meetings are a little bit different. But we've changed our PD structure here, and that's the passion projects for adults that you would read in Hacking Leadership. But we've changed the PD structure to really value the staff members' time, and the passion project piece is really great because it allows them to that allows them to pick a project that they're really passionate about and study that throughout the course of the year, implement that throughout the course of the year, whatever they're looking to do to get better as an educator. And then at the end of the year, instead of them turning in a reflection to me, and which those reflections were all kind of very similar, because I think that they were trying to prove something through a data set or trying to prove something through, in comparison to others or whatever the case may be. But what we ended up doing was we changed that reflection piece to now it's a street fair. So at the end of the year, when we do the passion projects, at the end of the year we get everybody together in the gym and we rotate groups, and you as a second grade teacher, or you as a high school ag teacher, or you as a middle school middle school math teacher, just have a display of learning on your table, something that, how did you learn throughout the course of the year? And then when people come up to you, we treat it like a vendor hall type environment where people walk up to you, you have to have a conversation about what you did throughout the course of the year to get better at your work. So, and that's been really transformative, because it's helped people understand that it's not always about the report. It's not always about about what they're doing there. It's about making sure that you have conversations and connections with people moving forward. And it forces them to reflect in a different capacity. And when you force them to connect or reflect in a different capacity, then they're able to step out of their comfort zone a little bit. We talk about getting out of your comfort zone here a lot, but we also talk about the idea that it's not about living out of your comfort zone. It's just about being out of your comfort zone for a period of time that allows you to stretch. Living out of your comfort zone, we think, is way too much, and it gets to be way too much on your shoulders and stress and that kind of thing. So we just want people to, be out of their comfort zone, but not live out of it. So we can still come back to some comfort, pieces throughout the course of the year. So that's really when it comes down to how we work through our PD stuff. And the last one was we're thinking about monitoring our implementation of hacks. How would you suggest monitoring the hacks with the same inspirational mindset rather than compliance? So, boy, that's a really great question, because I don't really, when the things that we do when it comes to the passion project stuff, it's kind of like that, where we're trying to get away from compliance. So I think one of the first things is that you just have to trust that it's happening. And I think you build an environment where people trust and they want to do better, then they're going to do better. So there's a bunch of resources out there, like you can use the graphic organizers that we put out there, or there's videos on all of the hacks and what they really look like and that kind of thing. But when it comes down to it, I don't think you can force growth on anybody. I think you just have to create the environment where they want to do that work. And if they do that, then you can move them forward. And I think I think the biggest thing, like for our street fair stuff, like when we were down to compliance prior to the street fair stuff happening, like people would turn in like a big sheet of paper on all the things that they learned throughout the course of the year. But they were only accountable to me in that spot because I was the only one reading that. When we did the street fair, now they're accountable to their colleagues. You can fake anything you want to me. It's really hard to fake stuff to your colleagues. So, and people don't do it. So what ends up happening is they spend more time because they don't want to look like fools in front of their colleagues. So that's been I think that would, like, if you're thinking about, the inspiration in terms of the implementation, I would just have more conversations about what it looks like in your space. Have visits about what it has looked like and all those things, because you can't fake that stuff. I mean, just having hey, I did hack 1 or hack 2 and it was really great, then I don't think that really helps in the long run. So I think really seeing what it looks like in each space can be very helpful. So anyway, all right, so I've already taken up 13 minutes of your time, and I think this hopefully is just the start of what you can do moving forward. But if there's anything that I can do to help you out, please just let me know. And I'm around, and like I said, you'll get my phone number. Shoot me a text, shoot me an email. I'm around. I think one of the biggest things, and if you think about it, with all the people that we put in that book, one of the requirements for being in hacking leadership was if somebody calls you, that you're going to respond to them. You're going to talk about that work, and I think that's important because I do these little 1-minute walk to work videos, and one of the things I always say at the end is that we're all in this thing together. So, and we are. So if we're not doing these things for each other, then this job gets to be really, really isolating, and then it gets to be really lonely, and then people leave it. So, take care of each other moving forward. And if there's anything that I can do to help you out, just give me a shout. Okay? All right, everybody. Thanks so much for listening. Have a great day. Go Crickets.